Alright, it's your boy, Juice Manji, Julian Rodriguez, Big Lechuga, Big Husband Maine! And I'm here to talk about the whole Donald Sterling controversy. I've been talking about sports on the Pulse and such, and I felt like I had to give this whole fiasco, this whole scandal, its own video, because just the sports segment on my weekly Pulse videos wouldn't be enough to really to address the issue. So what I am going to do is kind of give you guys, I have a unique perspective on this because I'm from LA, and I've had a great deal of disdain for Donald Sterling for a long time, as a basketball fan, and as a person of color, and as a resident of Los Angeles, as someone who was born and raised here. And basically, where it all starts is, when I was a kid, I would go to, like a lot of Angelinos, well, Los Angelinos, whatever. LA to me is the greatest basketball city in America. We love basketball so much that basically the Clippers were a profitable franchise for years because people like basketball so much that they would go to, despite being the laughing stock of the league, they were profitable because kids like me would go to the schedule because Laker tickets are expensive and hard to get because everybody wanted to see the Lakers. So if I wanted to see Michael Jordan or Sean Kemp and Gary Payton or any Hakeem, if I wanted to see the Knicks come to town, the go-to move was to go look up when these teams were going to play the Clippers in LA, and you could see the other teams that you wanted to see besides the Lakers for a lot less money. The ticket was way easier to get. You get a better seat. You could sit closer. All that. So I got to see all these guys, all the legends, when I was a kid growing up. More often than not at Clipper games. I was always a Laker fan, but I understood, we can go to more games if we go to a few Clipper games. I can get to see Michael Jordan, etc. So for the longest time, I hated Donald Sterling because I was a very astute kid as a sports fan. I got into the business of it. I knew about salary cap and things like of that nature and how they worked when I was like 12 years old. And it became clear to me that Donald Sterling always kept the Clippers, basically kept it to where they would sell out most of their game. Not sell out, but kept them profitable. Basically, what he would do is he'd keep the costs of the payroll as low as possible for him to turn a profit and still attract people. So every few years when people would start to get sick of his shit, he would put a little bit of money into the team. When they had Elton Brand, Lamar Odom, Corey Maggette, Quentin Richardson, and all those guys, and the Clippers were a little bit popular for a minute. He did that and then blew up the team again. The Clippers have been good on 3 occasions. When in 1996, I believe it was, they made it to the playoffs. When they had Brent Barry on the team, among others. But he'd get the team good enough to buy a few years of good faith after he blew that team up, and then start over the cycle of just kind of being shitty and keeping costs down so that he could pocket all the money and not reinvest it into the team. So before a lot of his slumlord ways came to light, his racist ways came to light, I already looked at him negatively as just a shitty owner who disregarded the fans and was only out to make a profit as opposed to putting a good product on the court. That was part of why I was so upset with the Chris Paul thing. I'm obviously biased. I'm a Laker fan, but I thought it was kind of crazy that David Stern was punishing one of the franchises that, one of the 3 or 4 most important franchises in the league, the Lakers, who, they always reinvest the money into the team. They're one of the reasons the league is what it is. One of the satellite franchises of the league, and then pretty much gifted Chris Paul to the Clippers, who had been, Donald Sterling had been an example of everything that could be wrong with the league. But that's neither here nor there. Basically, Sterling, even before the early 2000s, when a lot of his, housing discrimination lawsuits came to light, he was already not well liked in LA. In 2009, he was sued by Elgin Baylor, who was a Laker Hall of Fame player, who was also the Clippers' longtime GM, for discrimination. He fired Baylor and didn't want to pay him. He terminated his contract early, and basically what happens is Sterling, with most of his coaches, the way it works is he fires them, right? And in the NBA, if you have a contract and you fire someone, you have to pay the rest of their contract. Well, he basically says, you're going to have to I'm going to fire you and not pay you anymore, and you're going to have to sue me to get your money. And that's how he does with everybody. The funny thing is, in Doc's contract, Doc Rivers, the current coach's contract, he, knowing that's how Sterling gets down, they have an agreement where Sterling will, no matter what, pay Doc's legal fees when he, if and when he gets fired by Sterling, should he have to sue to get his money. But anyway, Elgin Baylor sued him in 2009, and a lot of his racist conduct as it relates to the team came out. I'm gonna link a Deadspin article that kind of has the history of Sterling racism and misconduct and sexual misconduct. Donald Sterling, born Donald Tokowitz. He changed his name to Sterling because he felt it sounded more successful. He made his money as a lawyer. He did mostly divorce cases, and he was an ambulance chaser. He did injury things, injury law, personal injury. So he was an ambulance chaser and made a lot of his money that way, and then got into real estate and buying rental properties. The thing that irks me most is the housing discrimination, because housing discrimination to me is the strongest remaining example in America of institutional racism. And institutional racism is it's not as in your face and blatant as the things that Sterling said on that tape that now have him banned, but they're way more consequential. They do a lot more damage. But so it's the housing discrimination. He pretty much all of his properties, if you're familiar with LA, none of his properties are south of the 10, and south of the 10 is a lot of Black and Latino communities, and east of downtown, which is mainly Latino. He doesn't own any properties there. He owns mainly in Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, West LA, and he refuses to rent, pretty much refuses to rent to Blacks and Latinos. And actually, I believe he owns 126 properties, rental properties in LA today, and not a single Black or Latino lives in any of them. And then in Koreatown, in his properties in Koreatown, he'll only rent to Koreans. So the guy's just a shitty human being. I'm glad that they banned him. Obviously, I'm glad that they are going to force a sale. From everything I've read, from people who are attorneys and whatnot, that he's pretty much fucked. There's not going to be a loophole. There's not going to be any way for him to weasel out of this. He could try to fight it, but it's a foregone conclusion. He's going to have to sell the team, and the league, seeing as he's banned, sees control of the team, and they will handle the sale of the team. So, now it's what I think is most likely to happen is the Guggenheim Group. That's the group that Magic Johnson is a part of, that bought the Dodgers. I think they're probably the most likely owners, next owners of the Clippers. I know Diddy expressed interest. That would be interesting, but I heard some people bring up the possibility of a Seattle group buying the team and moving to Seattle. And here's why I don't think that's, I never say never, but here's why I think that's highly unlikely. A team in Seattle is worth a lot less than a team in LA. Think about this. The Clippers, Seattle actually was trying to win all those years, and they were not as profitable as the Clippers, with Sterling being incompetent and not trying to win. So one can only imagine the group buying this team is going to pay an LA price. They're not getting a Seattle price. So to pay that $1 billion plus that it's going to cost to get this team, it doesn't really make business sense to take that $1 billion plus investment and then take it to Seattle. So I'm not shitting on Seattle as a place that can support and sustain a basketball team. It's more so that you're just going to be, it's just an LA-based team is worth more than a Seattle one would be. So, to pay that LA premium for the Clippers and then to move them to Seattle doesn't really make that much sense. And I think one thing that's important to the league is to not punish the fan base and the players of the Clippers. And nothing would be a greater punishment than to have your team move to a different city because of new ownership. So I think that they'll be mindful. I don't think that a move to Seattle is really on the table for the Clippers. I think they'll look. I think that's a high on the NBA's priority list, is to get a team in Seattle. But I don't think this is the time for them to do that. I think it's a great day for LA. it's starting to get hot out here. I got my jersey on because it's fucking hot. But it's a great day for Los Angeles. You know, I'm very happy as someone who this is my home, and I care very deeply about the city. I'm glad that this guy who's been a tyrant and a piece of shit in my city is getting kicked the fuck out of here. I mean, he's gonna still live here, you know, up in his, wherever the fuck he lives, whatever mansion he lives in. But I'm glad that he symbolically won't be able to flourish the same way. You know, he's not going to be sitting at half court of the games. He's not. One of the things that people don't know about Sterling, unless you're as familiar with him as I am, is that he's never sold a property, any of his rental properties in his life. He has refused, even when he could have turned a profit on them, he's never sold them. He's refused to move the Clippers to Orange County, where it would be more profitable, where there are better business deals, because he likes the flash of owning an LA team. That's why he's one of the few owners you'll see sitting at half court on the floor. He likes the attention. He thinks he's a playboy. When really most of the city, anybody who knows who he is, hates his guts. He's one of the least well-liked people I've seen in ownership in any capacity. And you know, I'm glad he's out of here. I'm happy for people that I know who are Clippers fans, even though if you follow me on Twitter, you know, if you follow me on Twitter for any extended amount of time, I've been harping on Donald Sterling forever. This is not, so when this happened, none of this was a shock to me. This is not news to me. But basically, I held it, I kind of looked at Clippers fans a little sideways. You know, I felt like if you lived in LA and you fucked with the Clippers, I kind of looked at you a little funny, because you probably knew about Sterling like I do. You know, you probably had a pretty good understanding that he is an overt racist. And to me, it was kind of like, how can you, when you have a choice, if you're from here, you have the Lakers as one team you could root for, the Clippers, and you choose. I understand some people like to root for the underdog, and that's totally fine. Some people just hate the Lakers, but to choose to root for a team that's owned by an overt racist like that always bothered me. So I'm glad that those people don't have to deal with that. You know, because I know a lot of people, and they were ashamed of Donald Sterling, and now they don't have to worry about that, and they have something they can be proud of. One thing that's going to be a trip: whoever buys this team, I would expect would rebrand the team, and what I mean by that is I would think that they're going to change the name. You know, the Clipper name, logo, uniforms, everything, for the longest has represented just shit. They're a shitty organization. I would think you'd want to start anew, especially after this whole Sterling thing, that people will always associate the Clippers with Donald Sterling and all the shit that comes with that. I would think that people would, I would think that they would rebrand the team. So basically, yeah, I can't imagine that they keep the Clipper name. Something new, change it up, maybe change the colors. I don't know. But at the very least, if they do keep the Clipper name, just maybe a changing of the colors and the brand and the logo. I always joked with people who like the Clippers, like, why do they keep that they're married to that Los Angeles cursive font as if the Clippers have any tradition or history? Like, why are they hanging on to the, I always wondered that. But it's clearly probably because of Sterling's hubris. To him, that brand meant a lot, was prestigious, when it really isn't. But I'm happy for my city, and I'm happy for the 28 Clipper fans that exist. I'm just fucking with you. I know there's more than 28 of you, but the Clipper Nation, as you guys like to call yourselves, I'm happy. I'm happy for you. You guys get to have an owner and people who own the team who are going to be looking out for the fans and committed to putting out a good product. And as a basketball fan, I'm excited. I'm excited for a legitimate rivalry now. Because now I haven't looked at this rivalry the last couple of years where the Clippers have been better than the Lakers. I haven't really thought of it as a rivalry, because I knew as long as Sterling's in charge, as soon as this team tanks like 3 years in a row in the second round of the playoffs, he's just going to blow up the team, because he already, he regained the goodwill and hey, I tried. And he'd go back to not putting money into the team. So, good for you guys. I'm excited for a real rivalry in LA, and it's going to get interesting. Now, with the whole ruling and lifetime ban, $2.5 million fine, and how the whole Board of Governors vote to oust Sterling is going to work, a particular Twitter account, the guy's a Laker fan, he's also a lawyer, and he's been going through the NBA Constitution and the agreement, and citing the clause that they used to get Sterling the fuck up out of here. It's at Sean F NBA. He's been very, very good. He's you can see he's tweeting all day, reading it, and then breaking it down piece by piece. Basically how this is going to work, and how Sterling doesn't really have much legal recourse to stop this from happening. So, he can explain it a lot better than I will. I'm not going to waste the time here. I've read it. It's very comprehensive and he breaks it down so that, if you're not really that familiar with legal jargon, you can still get it. So go check him out at Sean F NBA. Very interesting stuff. And now's the fun part. We can laugh at, now that they got Sterling the fuck up out of here, we can laugh at some of the funnier results of his being just a total piece of shit dirtbag. And one of my favorites is a few years back, he had basically, he's always whoring around with mistresses, and he had a mistress who he had bought a house for, and he was suing her to get the house back after they had broken up. This is a mistress that he, the one that I believe in court, she had said that he had asked her if he should hire or fire Alvin Gentry. Basically, he was asking her about decisions on the team. This is the same man who hired Elgin Baylor. He lived in LA, hired Elgin Baylor to be his GM, and had no clue that Elgin Baylor was a Hall of Fame player with the Lakers. So this guy is a fucking idiot. But here's one of my favorite Sterling jams, as I'll call it, and I'll have the picture up on the screen so you guys can read along with me. In a deposition he had years ago about this whole thing, he sued this lady for the house back when basically she on account, basically what he said was that she was a prostitute. He snitched on it. She wasn't a prostitute, but he, out of spite, basically said, yes, I had a hooker who was my mistress for a long time. I was paying her, so I let her kick it in the house. She shouldn't have it back because I was doing something illegal. So he's snitching on himself, not really, but out of spite. But anyway, so this picture from the deposition, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, and I'll read it with you guys. And it's up here you see the Sterling answer. Well, I fool around sometimes, I do. When a girl seduces me and tells me all of these hot stories and dirty things and tells me how much she wants to suck on me and takes my shoes off and licks my feet and touches me. When I'm in a limousine, she takes all of her clothes. The limo driver said, "What's going on?" And she started sucking me on the way to Mr. Coon's house. It's funny that Donald Sterling has a friend named Mr. Coon. And I thank her. I thank her for making me feel good. And in the deposition, the person interviewing Sterling goes, "Sir, the question was, is this your handwriting?" Sterling jams, baby. The guy's a nut. The guy's crazy. He loves his whores. He loves... It's hilarious that he's been, married for 50 years. Clearly they have some kind of an arrangement. But you know what? Don't buy the hype when this lady comes out and tries to dissociate herself from her husband, because during the whole housing discrimination lawsuits, there's someone testified that apparently she had gone, with whoever the super was for each of these properties, whoever the manager is, and they had gone, and she had posed as like a government inspector, and they were recording the race of the people living in the units. So fuck Donald Sterling's wife too. Fuck Shelley Sterling. She can kiss my ass. I know you're a racist. You're not married to somebody like Donald Sterling for 50 years and just, oh my god, I'm not racist. Okay. Alright, lady. And here's another legendary Sterling jam. If you follow me on Twitter, this is currently my Avi on Twitter. Donald Sterling in 2011 wanted to, because he's such a good guy, wanted to celebrate Black History Month. And he bought this ad in the LA Times, and he's legendary for having shit ads. I don't know who he hires to do, who his graphic designer is, but they're terrible. They're ugly ads, and they always have the same picture of him that you're about to see. But Clippers celebrate Black History Month. Clippers versus Houston, 7:30 p.m. Wednesday, March 2nd, 2011. Now, he decided to do Black History Month in March. So that's the first one. And then he decided to put his face on the Black History Month ad, as well as the face of Blake Griffin, who is half black. I'm not saying Blake Griffin isn't black enough to be on the Black History ad, but I know the Clippers had other black players like DeAndre Jordan on the team that they could have put on there. Eric Gordon was on the team at that time. But anyway, on March 2nd, and in honor of Black History Month, the Clippers will admit 1,000 underprivileged children for free. Child must be accompanied by a parent guardian, limit of 2 tickets per ad and 2 ads per family. Tickets are subject to availability. Now, is he insinuating that all that black people are all underprivileged? It's just everything he does is just clumsy and tone deaf, and doesn't really understand things. He's clearly lives. His mind is in a time long ago, and clearly doesn't. The wheels aren't spinning like everybody else's. But that's one of my favorite Sterling jams. And then a very recent Sterling jam. UCLA, good on UCLA. They rejected a $3 million. They canceled a $3 million donation that he had made. And the funny part is that Sterling had bought an ad in the LA Times, which I'll be showing you right now. Bought an ad in the LA Times thanking himself and his wife. He bought it almost to make it look like UCLA took out the ad to thank him and his wife. But as you can see, it's the same shitty graphic design as his other shitty ads that he buys in the LA Times. But I thought that was funny. That one came out today. I saw that, and the LA Times has now since decided to cancel all of his ads. So that's another good thing. But yeah, in conclusion, it's cool to see people get pissed about something, voice their displeasure with something that they feel is unjust, and have it result in something. When this news, if you follow me on Twitter, when this whole shit broke on Friday night, I was very upset. I'm someone who's disliked this man for a long time and felt strongly that he shouldn't be associated with the league. And being that I've had, I'm 28 years old, 29 years old. Shit, I forgot how old I am, but I'm 29 now. I've been around. I've experienced racism firsthand, and I'm at the age now. I'm just fed up with things. I don't feel like I should put up with things anymore. I don't want to deal with this kind of shit anymore. And so I was upset and I was disheartened because I was worried that there wouldn't be a huge outcry. I thought that I didn't think he would get ousted. I thought he would get a slap on the wrist, and I've never been, it was one of those times where I'm really, really glad I was wrong. I'm glad that the public outcry has been strong, and I'm glad that that the league took care of business. Now, I wish people would focus more on the injustices and the things that he's done outside of the Clippers, outside of the NBA. The housing discrimination, it's just that's the much more harmful act than the shit he said on those recordings. So I hope that this also not only got him the fuck away from the Clippers, but I hope that it draws attention towards those things, and hopefully we can get that shit fixed too, and open people's eyes to the harm that housing discrimination does to communities. That's housing discrimination is largely responsible for what we've seen in Chicago. The way Chicago is now is largely due to housing discrimination. We've seen it in New Orleans, and we've seen it here in LA, and I'm glad. I hope that this sheds light on the injustices that happen along with housing discrimination. That along with prison, the prison industrial complex right now are to me the two strongest and most prevalent forms of institutional racism in America. And I don't want to get too heavy with you guys on this. You guys can read up on it on your own. But it's just as someone from Los Angeles, as a person of color in America, these things are very important to me. And I'd be chicken shit, or I'd be, I'm not. These are things that I've been speaking out against Sterling for a long time. And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, I'm not being that guy. I've been saying this. I'm saying that to say to you that these are things that are important to me all the time, not just when they're big in the news. I was a sociology major in college, and these things, it's a passion of mine. I want to fight for a better world for my kids, so that when I have kids, they don't have to suffer through some of the things that I felt, or that my father felt before me, I should say. So yeah, these things I'm very passionate about these things, and I'm very passionate about sports. Sports to me was the first one of the first instances as a kid where I didn't see race as much. I didn't I didn't feel like my race was a hindrance or a factor. You know, it was one of the, you know, doing sports is one of the first times, like, I'm sure for a lot of us, where we found ourselves working together with people of other ethnic and racial backgrounds, and that's important. That's awesome. So, you know, especially in sports, we need to preach and fight for equality and tolerance, and it feels good. It feels really good to see the public and the league respond accordingly, because I didn't think they would, and it really restores some of that faith in me, and it's been an awesome weekend, and then into today to see this thing play out and see the people all across the board, for the most part, do what's right. So that about does it. If you guys have any questions in the comments about how I feel about any of these things, if I didn't touch on anything, please hit me up on the comments. I really, it's awesome to share this with you guys. You know, I'm going to do a normal Pulse video. Like I said, I just wanted to do this to, you know, kind of get that out of the way, so I didn't have to address it in the Pulse. I want to talk about these awesome playoffs in the Pulse, and that's another thing. I'm happy that Adam Silver got this out of the way so we can enjoy these historically badass playoffs. But I can't wait to hear from you guys in the Pulse. I'll have the Q&A video up next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit me at ChooseManji on Twitter. Peace.